Good morning and welcome to the Morning Scoop for Friday, January 22nd. This is your daily Buckeye Fix. I'm Tom Orr. The Minnesota game is in 223 days. The game against Michigan in 309 days. We have spent the time this week talking about what the return of a number of draft-eligible players will mean for the Buckeyes this fall. Today, though, wanted to take a look at what could be next for one of the guys who's leaving, and that's quarterback Justin Fields. My guest today is Kyle Morgan. He's a regional scout for Catapult Sports. He previously worked in player personnel for Arizona State. Kyle, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, first off, let folks know what Catapult Sports does and what you do for them.
Okay. So Catapult is the parent company to a wider range of products. And so we were formerly called Exos. And so basically I just cover the Southwest region, scouting high school prospects for our college clients. So we have 200 plus college clients that subscribe to our service.
So if people want to know more or contact you, where can they find more information about you and Catapult?
Okay, so I'm pretty active on Twitter, Kyle Morgan _XOS, or you can find out more about our website at Catapult in general at catapult.com.
All right, so there are guys. I'm sure people are paying you to unearth the under the radar prospects. Justin Fields was never an under the radar prospect. He was seen as pretty much can't miss for years before he stepped on a college campus. Now he's viewed as a likely maybe top 5 pick in the NFL draft, maybe top 2. So what is it that makes him such a good pro prospect?
Well, I think overall resume obviously is going to hold a lot of weight with him. When you talk about just his statistical, his win-loss record, his running ability. Now you get into the physical traits of his abilities, all make him intriguing. Obviously playing for a team like Ohio State, he's going to be playing in those big time games in a big conference. So your strength of competition matters as well. So when you weigh him against some of those other lesser tier quarterbacks, he's going to have that better competition too.
Yeah, I mean he has the arm strength. I mean that seems like pretty much like a given. Accuracy, is that something that, in terms of just touch on the ball, accuracy, arm strength? Yeah. He's kind of ticks all those boxes though, right?
Yeah. So when you're going to dive into the quarterback traits that he has, so accuracy is very good. Now that can be divided into ball placement too, and those are very different things. So accuracy, does he throw a catchable ball? Ball placement, is he giving his receiver the ball in the spot to maximize yards after catch? And he does that very well, especially when you're talking about those slants, shallow intermediate routes. He really puts his receivers in a good spot to run after the catch. And then his deep accuracy is very good too.
Now, when you look at his game, like, where do you see question marks, or maybe things that may hold him back as a pro initially that he may have to sort of work on and develop?
Well, I think his mental processing lacks. That's really going to be long-term what's going to make or break him. So, if you watch some of his games against man coverage, he doesn't have to think that much. He just has to pick the best matchup, let it rip, and then let the player run after catch. So where he got into trouble this year, though, was in the zone coverage schemes, teams that rolled it after the snap. Those things, he was staring down his receivers, not making those quick, snap decisions that the great quarterbacks can do. And he's not anticipating guys coming open into the zones. He has to see it and then throw it, and that's going to hold him back.
Are those things that typically come with more experience, or are those things that, like, you've got it or you don't? Is that something you could develop as a pro?
I don't believe so. Think of how many reps he's taken in his lifetime. He's probably a 4-year starter in high school. Played a lot in college, even though he didn't play a full season this year. He's still seen a lot of football, taken a lot of reps. And if that's still an issue, that light bulb isn't going to come on the day he steps into an NFL camp. and now the bullets are flying faster. And so his paralysis by analysis then is gonna take over and ultimately slow him down even more. So I don't know that that's something that quarterbacks just figure it out. I think that's what separates the greats from the average.
There's a bunch of research that has found that there's a fairly strong correlation between the number of reps a guy has in college and what he turns out to be as a pro, in terms of just the more successful pros are generally the guys that have been multi-year starters in college,
Sure.
Sometimes 3-year starters in college. How much does it hurt Fields to have missed basically half the season this year because of the Buckeyes' limited schedule? Is that something that could really hold him back?
I don't know about big picture if, what they end up playing, eight games this fall. So 8 games to 12 games. They probably would have blown out a number of their opponents. So he's only playing the first half of those anyways. So ultimately, I don't know that doesn't move the needle for me as far as being detrimental to him. He still played the big game. He played against a number of big time opponents on big stages, put up some very good numbers, did some really good things. And so that's going to outweigh, a blowout win against Minnesota or somebody like that.
Now, for years, going back to high school, it has been Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence. Like these are two guys who are, 1 and 1A or 1 and 2 in terms of quarterbacks coming out of high school. Now going into the draft, it seems like a lot of people think they're going to be 1 and 2 as well. But very consistently, Trevor Lawrence has been number 1 and Fields has been number 2. So what is it that separates Trevor Lawrence from Justin Fields as a quarterback prospect?
Oh, probably just overall resume. Trevor's done very well in those big games and been able to win national championship. You also get to a point where you can't be the guy that passes on somebody like that. So it's going to take a GM that really trusts their eyes to overlook somebody like that. And so, the quarterback position in general, teams reach for every year in the draft. And, it's just one of those positions that, hey, who's the top quarterback? Okay, they're generally going to be in the number 1 pick conversation. Whether they ultimately should be or not, is debatable. I think, Trevor, obviously arm strength, his size, he looks the part, played in a ton of games, like you mentioned, you get those reps over the course of his career. And, he's done very well against, the Alabamas and that too. So that's going to ultimately, help his resume as well. I don't know. I have my own thoughts on Trevor overall. As far as long-term success, right? So if I'm Coach Meyer, you got to take the guy, right? You can't be the one that doesn't. However, I do like the teams that are in a position that they can just take the best overall player and then fill in, like in Indianapolis, for instance, when they take Quentin Nelson at number 4. It's not a sexy pick, to draft a guard, but they got the best player and they got the surefire all-pro, from day one. And then they were able to kind of figure out the quarterback process. And that's probably held them back, as an organization the last couple of years, but they didn't miss. And when you miss, you're dead. And so, I don't envy Coach Meyer and that staff. But good luck to him.
He's getting paid paid a bunch of money to figure it out. I'm sure he's doing okay.
Yeah.
So, let's assume the Jaguars do take Trevor Lawrence. That seems like that's treated as pretty much a given at this point. So, which of the teams picking near the top of the draft would be the best fit for Justin Fields in your mind? I'll run through the top 10 picks and you let me know which of these teams, 1 or 2 teams might be the best fit for him. Okay. Jaguars, we'll take them out. Okay. New York Jets, Miami Dolphins, Atlanta Falcons, Cincinnati Bengals, Philadelphia Eagles, Detroit Lions, Carolina Panthers, Denver Broncos, Dallas Cowboys. Now, obviously, a number of those teams have quarterbacks. They're not really in the market, but Of the teams that are in the market potentially for a quarterback, which of those teams do you think might be the best fit for Fields?
Probably number 4 to Atlanta, and I'm skipping the Jets only because I think they're going to give Darnold, some more time. And honestly, I'm not sold that he's the problem. If they can draft another tackle, then you'll see. You'll get a better eval if you get, what's deemed to be a surefire tackle, the kid from Oregon. So I'd probably go away from the Jets if we're talking about Fields. Who'd you say Miami was 3?
Yeah, Miami's 3. They should be okay at quarterback for the foreseeable future.
Whichever they do, if they trade them or not, they're set. So now you're getting to Atlanta, and like you said, how can you pass up the local all everything type of kid? It's going to be very good for PR. It's going to sell some jerseys, some tickets, that sort of thing. So probably you're looking at Atlanta Falcons at 4. And then I don't like another good fit until probably 8 with Carolina. The Giants maybe at 11. And then how about San Francisco at 12? I think that'd be a great fit. So I'm looking at more run-heavy schemes. He's going to have somebody to take the pressure off of him, certainly as a rookie. But I think ultimately to maximize his production, he's going to have to be able to lean on that run game, that read game. That's what makes him so dangerous, right? That ability to keep it himself. And then really just not have to force the ball downfield as the guy. So I'm looking more run-heavy teams.
Boy, I as someone who grew up on the East Coast, I can already tell you, I don't think there's going to be fans at the draft, but I can tell you that if the Jets do pick Penei Sewell instead of a quarterback, there's going to be boo. I mean, they always get booed by their own fans, but right. Man, that will be loud if they do go tackle there.
But the true diehard football people are like, yes, get the tackle.
Yes,
it builds in the trenches, so why not start there?
To you, if Fields ends up in a best case scenario, everything goes perfectly, what is his ceiling as a pro? Can he be a Pro Bowler? Can he be a Super Bowl winning quarterback? And then what's his just kind of like median outcome? Like everything's fine. He's healthy. Like it doesn't go perfectly. It doesn't go terribly. Like what's his ceiling and what's his kind of like 50 percentile outcome?
So I think probably ceiling wise, I'm not seeing him as an all pro quarterback. If he makes a Pro Bowl, it's going to be because some other guys decline, that sort of thing. But honestly, my pro comp to him is Baker Mayfield. And so he's somebody that you can win with, certainly make the playoffs with a quarterback like that. But it's got to be within, I think, a strict framework. The Browns used Baker very well this year out of play action. Again, run heavy offense, right? And when Baker gets in trouble, it's because he's operating outside of that framework. He's kind of free gunning, and that can be a problem. So, Justin hasn't shown that arrogance that Baker has, which is good. It's a good trait to have. But he's kind of a Baker Mayfield comp as far as he's a one-read quarterback. He either likes the man-to-man matchup, or he's going to try and make something happen with his feet. He needs that quick read. You can also comp him as maybe a poor man's Lamar Jackson, in a sense, where again he can make things happen on his feet. Obviously, he's a better passer than Lamar, so he's got that going. He's not a dynamic runner, so he's kind of in that sweet spot between a Baker Mayfield and Lamar Jackson, stepchild.
So there was another former Buckeye quarterback in the news on Thursday. Dwayne Haskins signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was someone coming out of college. I thought like, okay, this guy is set up to have a good pro career. And this is me ignoring the number of reps in college rule that I cited earlier. But, he obviously had some decision-making issues on and off the field in Washington. That is also a franchise that has not always done a great job developing guys. I'll put that as politely as I can. So how big a difference does it make for a guy like Haskins to go from an organization like Washington, which is like development-wise, culture-wise, like, not great. To the Steelers, which has this reputation as like the place where you go and it's like they do everything the right way. Like, how big a difference does that make? Is this something that could potentially be like completely career-altering for Dwayne Haskins, or is that sort of an overblown thing?
No, absolutely. It's gonna make or break him. It's probably his best opportunity where he can learn from somebody like Big Ben, where he doesn't necessarily have to be the guy right off the bat. But Tomlin's not going to put up with anything. And so he can actually learn how to be a pro, how to study, how to prepare, and not be thrown into it, like he was. And, he didn't have that many, 1 year as a starter, which leads to your argument that, he just didn't see enough football. He wasn't in enough situations where it matters. He's got to be able to just learn how to be a pro. And so, yeah, Pittsburgh's good. I thought maybe Indianapolis would make a move, but again, he'd have to be the guy from the get-go, likely at some place like Indianapolis, and he needs to just sit, reassess, learn how to be a pro.
Yeah, that might be a better long-term, you always want to be the starter, but like,
right.
that might be a better long-term fit for him than just about anywhere else he could have gone.
I mean, look at Jameis Winston, right? He just had a lot of maturity. He needed to grow up and learn it. And so if he can sit behind Drew Brees and do that, we'll see where his career goes from here, but it's a very similar situation.
Well, awesome, Kyle. Thank you for joining us. Really
Sure.
Appreciate your insight on all this stuff. Make sure you check out BuckeyeScoop.com. We have a ton of great insight. Speaking of insight, tons of great insight from our great team of insiders every day, all day. Recruiting stuff coming up. Big National Signing Day coming up in less than 2 weeks. Then start of spring football. Tony Gerdeman and I will be covering all of that. We're talking to Ryan Day later on this morning. We'll get to start turning the page from the 2020 season to the 2021 season. That'll happen at 9:30 this morning. So we'll have coverage this morning at Buckeye Scoop of that. We may do an extra bonus episode of Buckeye Weekly Podcast. We'll see. Tony right now is staring at his phone like, did you just say that out loud? Now we have to do it. So yeah, we probably have to do it. So that's all right. You're obligated now, Tony. Sorry. So we'll have that at Buckeye Scoop. You can find all of our great podcasts. In fact, just go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, Spreaker. Just search Buckeye Scoop to find all of those podcasts. You can subscribe right there. Also leave us a 5-star rating and review while you're at it. And make sure you check out BuckeyeScoop.com. Please consider becoming a member. We have a great team of insiders on our Ask the Insiders board. Lots of fun content, conversation going on 24/7. Lots of stuff to talk about, as always. So thank you guys for joining us. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. We will talk to you Monday.